Class. Last time we were discussing reductionism and unification. Alright, and there was some screen sharing problem, and that's why some of you were not able to see the screen. So we are going to repeat that part. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so what is reductionism? Reduction again means to simplify or make it smaller and smaller. So I was telling you that suppose you want to understand, let's say, how a particular material behaves. For example, let's say some solid like wood. Okay, so you want to get an idea about the properties or the characteristics of some system. Okay, wood is the system, right? We want to understand how it behaves. Then what we have to do is we have to take a closer look at its parts. So you know that all materials are either made up of molecules or atoms. So we know that wood is made up of molecules. Alright? So if you want to get an idea about wood, then you have to look at its molecules. You have to understand how the molecules behave. Now further, if you want to understand how those molecules behave, you have to break it down. Okay, you have to break it down. So I'm sure you know that molecules are made up of atoms. So you would have to understand how the atoms inside those molecules behave. So this is basically reduction. From a complicated thing, we break it down, we look at its tiny parts. Okay. Further, we break it down, we try to understand about its tiny parts. Further, if you want to understand how atoms behave, then you have to look at the properties of protons, electrons and neutrons. Did you understand what I am saying? If you want to understand how atoms behave, you have to understand how protons, neutrons and electrons behave. Everyone got that? I want your responses. Remember, I told you, this is a classroom. Okay, you are not watching a movie. Right? Okay, is this clear? So ultimately, by breaking things down into smaller and smaller parts, we try to understand what are the properties. So this idea is called reductionism. I gave you another example yesterday as well, let me repeat. If you want to understand how human body behaves or what are the properties of human body or characteristics of human body, then you have to look at all the different organs. Yes or no? This is reductionism. I hope you see that. Further, to understand how organs act or what are their properties, you have to look at the tissues from which organs are made and so on and so forth. Clear? Is this clear? Right? So this is what is reductionism. So reductionism is not just in physics, mind you. Right? Reductionism is a common idea in all the branches of science. Right? Okay, the next thing that we are going to talk about is unification. The next thing that we are going to talk about is unification. Okay. So what is unification? Again, unify, unite means to bring together, right? Okay. So unification is an idea that is actually kind of opposite to this. So I was giving an example that for unification we have to look at the common things or the common properties in different situations. Right? For example, let's talk about gravitational force. Right? Let's talk about gravitational force. The same gravitational force that acts between Earth and Moon is there between Earth and the apple that fell on Newton's head. That's what we say. right? I agree that the value, the strength of the force may be different. I am not talking about strength. But the other characteristics of this force, they are same. Right? For example, gravitational force always attracts. I am sure you know that. Does gravity repel? Think about it. If I leave this pen here, will Earth attract this pen or it will repel the pen and throw it away? What do you think will happen if I drop this pen? Will Earth repel that pen or will Earth attract the pen? Of course, it will attract, right? So the same thing here as well. Also, both of these go by the same formula that you have learned in 9th standard. Right? The gravitational force goes by the same formula. So this is what I am saying. There are often some common things everywhere in nature. It's not like for every situation nature has made a different rule or law. No. Gravitational force, it's common at so many places. Right? Okay, so like this, suppose you think of electromagnetic force. Right? What do you think of electromagnetic force? It's the force that acts between charges and magnets. Okay? The force can act between two charges or between two magnets also. I repeat. Electromagnetic force indicates the force that acts between charges or between magnets. Alright? Okay, roughly speaking. Of course, I am not going into detail. Right? Where are the details? Details are in 12th standard. Alright? There is one whole book, one whole part of physics which is about electromagnetism. Right? So there you will get 7 or 8 chapters to study about this. Right? At the moment we are just talking about its meaning. That's it. Okay. Now, so like I said, this electromagnetic force, it's also everywhere. For example, you know, inside atoms, protons and electrons are attracting each other. Yes or no? Protons and electrons, they attract each other by this force because they have charges, right? Protons have positive charge and electrons have negative charge. Okay, we have a question. Does solenoid give an example of electromagnetic force? Yes. Manthan, everything that you associate with magnets or magnetic field or charge, electro refers to charge and magnetic refers to everything related to magnets. Alright? So all of that does deal with electromagnetic force. Alright? Good question, Jay. But I think it is best answered in 12th standard. Okay, right now you have to study all about charges and all that in chemistry, not in physics. Right? It's not that I don't know the answer or I cannot answer, it's just that I don't want to answer. Alright? Okay, let's focus on what we have here. Alright? When you study about protons, electrons in chemistry, I'm sure you will understand the answer to your own question. Which formula? This formula? You have studied this in 9th standard. Don't worry, people. Let me just tell you something. This is chapter number 1. From this chapter 1, you are not going to be asked anything. Okay? Except the name of these forces. That's it. Like which force acts between Earth and Moon? Gravitational force. Very good. Which force acts between two magnets? Electromagnetic force. Did you understand? Unification doesn't have a definition. Remember, unification is idea. Okay? Again, I want to remind everyone. This is not your 10th standard. Writing definitions word to word is the last thing that you want to do in physics. The main point here in these 2 years is going to be that you understand what I am telling you. Okay? Like I said, unification means we look for common characteristics. Like here, between Earth and Moon there is some force. Between Earth and Apple also there is some force. Is something common between those forces? Yes. Its gravitational force, it follows this kind of formula. It is always attractive. These are some common traits or common properties. Did you understand? Okay. So gravitational force is one of the common things that we see everywhere. Right? In fact, Newton's law that you have studied in 9th standard, Newton's law of gravitation. It says that every mass in the universe attracts every other mass. Right? Every mass in the universe attracts every other mass. Right? So it's actually acting between you and me, even though you are sitting at your home and I'm over here at school. Still, there is gravitational force acting between each one of us. Okay? Right? Don't forget that. So continuing with the unification theme. So it's that when scientists looked for common forces or common traits, common properties everywhere in the universe, they were able to decide that there are only 4 fundamental forces which are seen everywhere. Fundamental means basic. Okay, fundamental means basic. They saw that even if we observe thousands of things or phenomena happening in nature, right, we find that there are only 4 forces. There are only, in reality, only 4 types of forces, right? Okay. So here we have a question from Dave. What do we achieve by unification? Hopefully you understand what unification is. Only then you will be able to understand what are we achieving. Like I said, nature is made up of so many complicated different phenomena and things, right? But ultimately, by observing common things, we have realized that, well, nature is simple. It's not like in every situation you have a different formula or a different property for a force. There are just 4 types of forces. You understand what I'm saying? There are just 4 types of forces, right? So that's the advantage of unification. If you want to explain anything, then you just have to worry about these 4 forces. I hope that makes sense, right? So number 1 is gravitational force itself. Okay, number 1 is gravitational force itself. Okay, remember, I just write some information here. Alright, it is a long range force. What is meaning of long range? Long range means it can act up to any distance. Long range means it can act up to any distance, practically infinite distance. Alright, okay, we also know that one galaxy attracts another galaxy and the distance between the galaxies is very, very big. Even then, the gravitational force acts between them. So, gravitational force is a long range force. We know that it can act up to infinite distance. Vishwa, I was hoping that you would know that basic stuff. Protons and electrons obviously attract each other, don't they? Shantanu. Again, I have said it clearly that there are so many different things in nature. There is this bench, there is your body, okay, there are protons, electrons, there is earth, there is moon, there are stars. But all these different objects, they tend to have some common behavior, right? They tend to have some common behavior or common properties. Like, one common behavior is that every mass attracts every other mass. Is that clear? One common behavior is that every mass attracts every other mass. Yes or no? Do you realize it's called common behavior? Shantanu, I want the answer from you. Yes. Okay. So just like that, there are some other common behaviors. There are some other common behaviors. There are common things that are true for the whole universe. Alright? there are some common things that are true for the whole universe. So those are first of all forces. We have seen that everywhere in the universe there are 4 forces, right? Only 4. There is no other force. Remember, there are just these 4 types of forces that can act between things. So number 1 is gravitational force, which is a long range force. It can act up to any distance. Number 2 is electromagnetic force. Number 2 is electromagnetic force. Again, it is common. Why? Wherever there are charges or magnets in the universe, they are going to have forces with each other. Right? So where are the charges in the universe? There are hundreds of charges inside your body. Right? Same with me. Okay, same with the bed. Same with the chair or the bed on which you are sitting. Right? Okay? So charges are there everywhere. So between all those charges there is electromagnetic force. Now this is once again a long range force. This is once again a long range force. That is the power failure. Let's continue. So I was telling you that wherever there are charges or magnets in the universe, they are going to apply forces on each other. That's the electromagnetic force. So this is again the idea behind unification. You don't need to worry about getting a separate formula for every different pair of magnets. No. Whatever formula is valid for any 2 magnets will be actually true for all the magnets in the world. Okay, that is the meaning of unification. That is, the electromagnetic force is common. Common for what? Common for all the charges and all the magnets, right? Or anything related to it. It's a common property for all those kind of situations or systems. So that's why we are looking for unification, so that way we can understand the nature better, right? So that's the whole idea about this one. Next, number 3, there is recently, by recently I only mean in the last 50 years, okay? Right? In the last 50 years, we have been able to discover 2 more forces, right? We have been able to discover 2 more forces that don't seem to appear around us, so they are slightly mysterious. For example, you might say gravitational force acts between masses, right? We know about it even before Newton's time. But electromagnetic force, well, we know it from about 17th century, right? But the next 2 that I'm going to write, they have been discovered fairly recently, right? So it's not been very, very long. So these forces, first of them, weak nuclear force, right? Okay, you only have the names in your syllabus. I'm being very, very clear, right? Weak nuclear force is just a name in your syllabus. Okay, you don't have to worry at all about what this is. If you want to worry about it, after 12th you are going to have to choose for higher level physics. Okay, right? So what is weak nuclear force? I'll still give you a very basic idea about it. Do you remember that there are things called alpha, beta, gamma radiation? Do you remember there are things called alpha, beta, gamma radiation? Yes or no? Okay, very good. So it was discovered, this weak nuclear force was actually discovered by observations of lots of beta radiation. Okay, by observations of lots of beta radiations, and actually it took probably about 25 years of observations of different experiments to prove that there is actually something like weak nuclear force, right? So okay, so it came after a lot of hard work from experiments. Anyways, weak nuclear force, so like I said, is something involved with beta radiation. Okay, Now weak nuclear force is a short range force. Okay. Again, how do we know it's a short range force and why this kind of name? That will give you the idea. This weak nuclear force can act only within the size of nucleus. I repeat what I have said. The weak nuclear force can act only within the size of nucleus, okay? And you know nucleus is very small. Do you remember that atoms are small, of course, but nucleus is really very small? Yes or no? Akshar, what are you talking about? What does lead block have to do with this? Nucleus is there in everything. Okay. So basically, the weak nuclear force can only act in that much size, right? So that's why it's a short range force. The range is really very short, right? It's 0.14 zeros and 1 meter, right? It's that small. The range of the nuclear forces is more like this. I hope you get what I am saying. So many zeros, 14 zeros in fact, and then a 1 and meter. It's very small. Okay, anyways. Now, the last one is called strong nuclear force. Okay, the last one again is called strong nuclear force. It's once again a nuclear force. Nuclear force means it's something that acts within the size of nucleus. It's happening, all this is happening within the nucleus, right? Okay. And once again, like I said, it's a short range force. Okay, like I said, it is a short range force. So compare and contrast these two. This is long range. Both of these are long range, right? So they were discovered first and they were easy to discover comparatively. These two, they were discovered relatively easily. But the last two, because they are so short range, you have to do very careful experiments on nuclei, okay, and their properties like radiation and all that. So based on that, based on the observations of how different nuclei emit radiations, we know about these things. Okay, so both of them are very short range forces, like I said, extremely short, of this kind. Not like in kilometer. It's not like you can have weak nuclear force or strong nuclear force acting between you and me. No, because we are standing at a lot of distance. It's impossible. Okay, this only acts at the short range. No, sorry there. I will not revise what are alpha, beta and gamma. Alright, that is something very basic. You have learned it in 9th. Suppose you don't remember, no problem. Later on you are going to study it in physics in 12th standard. Okay, so you can wait till that time. Here we don't have to worry about what is alpha, beta or gamma. It is of no importance in this particular discussion. Okay, so these are the forces. Alright. Now, so basically the unification idea stems from thinking that okay, there are so many different systems. Is there anything common between them? Yes. We are seeing that everything in universe is governed by these four forces. Right? Everywhere you are going to see these four forces. Remember, inside my body there are atoms. And inside every one of those atoms there is a nucleus. And inside that nucleus this force is acting. Similarly, inside your body or inside a sand grain there are atoms. And inside atom there are nucleus. So this force is going to be acting. Right? So that's why these are the common things. It's not like we are not affected by these two. We are affected. But thing is, it shows its effect only on that very small scale of nucleus. Did you understand that these two can show their effect only on the small scale of the nucleus? Got it? hopefully some of you got the answer. Okay. I see the interactions have died down because things are getting trickier now. These forces would help in understanding unification. Okay, there are a couple of questions. Let me answer them one by one. Dia, I will definitely come to your question. First question was, are these ranges same? Are these ranges same? No. No, they are not same. Okay? In fact, the range for weak nuclear force is even little bit less than strong nuclear force. I repeat. The range for weak nuclear force is a little bit less than strong nuclear force. Okay? Alright? But I want to make it absolutely clear once again and for the last time. Information based question. What do I mean? Information based questions. For example, write range of weak nuclear force, write range of strong nuclear force, write range of gravitational force, or write range of electromagnetic force. Such questions are very rarely asked in any exam because, like I mentioned yesterday, we are not after information. Anyone can give you information. You read a book, you will get information. Getting information is not physics. Understanding that information and learning to use it is physics, right? So if I tell you that range of strong nuclear force is 10 raised to minus 15 meter, okay, fine. What will you do with this information right now? Nothing. Do you understand what I am saying? This information cannot be used in any physical situation by you at the moment. It is just information. It's like I am asking you to memorize. It's like I am asking you to memorize a number, isn't it? If you would ask, sir, how do we get this? Then I will not be able to answer you at this stage because you still have lots of physics to learn. Right? Okay? You understood what I am saying? So such information based is of no use. Not anymore in 11th and 12th. No. Okay, that's why this chapter is not given that much importance. I hope you understand what you are asking. You are saying neutral charge. Neutral is not a charge. If it has a charge, it is not called neutral. Okay? Well then, so these are just the names. If you can, you try and remember these names. Okay, that's it. If you can try and remember this list. That's it. Okay, now, important note for chapter 1. Here, chapter 1 ends. Why? You might say, sir, there is so much given in the book. What about all that? Wait. It is that everything that is given in the book in this chapter, you are going to learn it in proper way and full detail in other chapters. Some of it in 11th, some of it in 12th. Right? I understand you may be curious. Right? You want to know what is given here. What does this mean? But you see, it doesn't work that way. It's not like you can directly learn 10th standard maths if you are in 1st standard. Yes or no? I hope you understand what I am saying. So to understand properly what is strong nuclear force, we'll have to go through so many things. Right? To understand properly what are terms like angular momentum. You know, when students read the book in 1st chapter, they ask me things like this. What is this angular momentum, sir? You can't understand that so easily, right? It's not like I'll tell you the meaning and you will understand. No. Okay. It will take a lot of time and patience. Alright? So we are going to learn everything that is given in this chapter later. We are going to learn everything that is given in this chapter later. Okay? In detail. Here it's given in one paragraph. There you will have a complete chapter about it. Okay? So stepwise we are going to learn. One more thing. There was a question about unification and these forces. Do these forces help in unification? That's not something I would say yes to. I'll just say that finding different forces that are there in nature is a part of unification. Unification is not a process that can end somewhere. Unification means we are looking for more and more and more and more common properties in the universe. I hope you understood that. We are looking for more and more and more common properties in the universe, right? Even after these four, the unification has not stopped. Let me just make one comment on it. I am not saying you will understand it. I am not saying you will understand, but because we have a question, I will say it anyways. It is that very recent research, that is after 1980, right? After 1980s, the research has pointed out that actually these three also are just one force. Okay? It's just like three different forms of the same thing. I'm not saying you will understand. Okay, this is just information, like I said. Don't worry about it. Nobody is going to ask you this in exam. I said that recent research has shown that these three are just one force. And it has also shown that gravitation, this will hit you very hard on your head, is that gravitation is not a force. Okay? I know that will definitely surprise. What are you going to write in fair book? Vishwa? Okay, in 11th and 12th, understanding things is 10 times more important than making fair books. Okay, I will tell you what to write at appropriate time. Right now you just make a list of these four, that's it. And that's end of chapter 1. Raghav, you have completely misunderstood. You have completely misunderstood what I said. I did not say that by increase of lots of beta radiation we found out weak nuclear force. Nobody increased beta radiation. Okay, it's not like there is some problem. Okay, right? Increase in beta, there is nothing like increase in beta radiation. It's just like people did so many experiments. And then based on that, people understood that there is some third force. Okay, there is some one more force. That's what we are talking about. So it's about discovery, right? So alpha and gamma radiations are already there. Okay, even if alpha and gamma radiations will increase, we will not find any more forces. All right. Right, so I see you all have lots of basic questions. Okay, so Yatharth is asking, if gravity is not a force, then what is it? Well, gravity has every kind of behavior like force. That's why for so many years we have been thinking that it's a force, starting all the way from Newton. But Einstein proved it that gravity is something else. Okay, and experiments done later have proven that he was right. Okay, so because Einstein was right, that means gravity is not a force. It's something else. If you want to know what it is, then I'm sure you should do BSc Physics after 12th standard and then MSc Physics. Then you'll get some idea about what all this is. Okay, now to answer Sama's question. Yes, dear, gravity is curvature in space-time. પણ એનો મીનિંગ શું થાય તો આપણને હજી આજ સુધી ખબર પડી નથી. એટલે જ કહું છું, ઇન્ફોર્મેશન બેઝ is not useful in 11th and 12th. Gravity is curvature in space-time. ಈ સેન્ટેન્સ ને તમે શું કરશો? એના તમે ભજીયા બનાવશો? I hope you understand what I am saying. Right? Okay. So that's why we focus on understanding things. Yeah. Now there are some questions already about textbook exercise and what do we write in the notebook and all that. For chapter 1, just write this. That's it. End of chapter. I repeat. For chapter 1, just write this. End of chapter 1. Clear? Nothing else needs to be on your notebook. Okay. Then what about exercises given in the book? Okay. Everyone, hopefully you have your textbook with you. Look at the exercises at chapter 1. Do you see sums? Do you see sums in that exercise? Or do you see questions? Exercise and all that. See, I am making it very clear once again for the last time. Physics, lots of numericals, lots of sums. Okay, and some derivations. So the main focus will always be on that. And trust me, by reading theories or by memorizing short notes, you are not going to learn physics. Okay? So chapter 1's exercise, you don't even need to touch it. Okay? Leave it completely. There's no need. There's no need whatsoever. Real physics starts with chapter 2. Okay? Real physics starts with chapter 2. So let's begin with chapter 2. Okay, everyone, don't go anywhere. Alright, we are not going to end sharply at 10:50. No, because we have had power failures twice. I'm going to extend the class by 10 minutes or so. Okay, so chapter 2. Now you see, this chapter 2, its name is units and measurements, right? So immediately, I hope it is clear. I hope it is clear to you that this chapter will deal with measuring things. Okay, and obviously when you measure things, you are going to get some values or numbers, right? Like I said. Alright, so because physics deals with so many quantities, you know what's a quantity? A color is not a quantity, right? But my height is a quantity, your height is a quantity, your mass is a quantity, right? How fast your scooter moves on the road, that speed, it's a quantity. Clear? So anything whose answer is a number is a quantity. So basically a quantity is very closely associated with a number. Is that clear, everyone? I would like to see your response, everybody. If you have understood, say yes. If you have not understood, you can say no. Like I've said, it's not a theater. You're not here to watch a movie or a show. You are supposed to interact. The more you interact, the easier it will be for you. Okay? Alright. So because quantities are numbers and everything, every time we measure, we have to write units and all that as well. But before that, before doing anything like that, we must understand some basic rules of mathematics. Very basic rules of mathematics. Okay? So first of all, I am going to tell you about powers. Right? This is very simple stuff. I am sure all of you know it and will be answering it quickly. Suppose you have got 5 raised to 7 divided by 5 raised to 3. Then can you tell me what this will be? Can you tell me what this will be? Saleha, you will get information about scalar and vector quantities in the next few chapters. Alright, don't worry. Very good. It is 5 raised to 4. Okay. It is 5 raised to 4. But next time I hope you will answer it quickly. Okay, so can you tell me what is this? Can you tell me what is this? Hurry up. Hurry up, hurry up, come on. It's not. Yes, it is a raised to 3 minus 5, that is a raised to minus 2. Okay, so looks like basics are clear for everyone. Well done. Alright, now very quickly let's go on to something called scientific notation. Okay, very quickly let's go on to something called scientific notation. So what is scientific notation? It's that we write a number. Okay, write a number with first digit non-zero. Non-zero means not zero. Okay, write a number with first digit non-zero and decimal point after first digit. Okay, writing like this is called scientific notation. See, the aim is not to memorize this sentence, so nobody will do this at home today. Scientific notation means write a number with first digit non-zero and put decimal point after first digit. Scientific notation means no, this is nonsense. That's not what you have to do. You are not supposed to memorize these words. It's of no importance. Nobody is going to ask you this. Okay, but what will be asked? Let's see. Suppose I give you a number 523. Can you convert it to scientific notation? That will be asked. Alright, so in scientific notation, 523 should be written in this form. Did you understand? Did you understand or not? Yes or no? Yes or no? Come on everyone, this is a situation of life and death in physics now. If you don't understand this, we have a lot of way to do. Okay, we'll have to go a long way there. Come on. Yes, very good. But you see, sometimes putting all these zeros, it's very cumbersome. It's very, people feel lazy, right? Let's be frank, all of us feel lazy. So, instead of writing 100, we write 10 square. Did you understand this now? Instead of writing 100, we write 10 square. Did you understand? Yes or no? Very good. So, this is called writing in scientific notation. This is called writing in scientific notation. Okay, next one. Can you convert this to scientific notation? Can you convert this to scientific notation? I want the answer from everyone. Hurry up. Can you convert this to scientific notation? Okay, follow the rules. What does the rule say? First digit non-zero and point should be after the first digit. So first digit non-zero can be 4. Did you understand this so far? 4.5. Okay, but if I write 4.5, I actually have to divide by 100. Clear or not clear? Is this dividing by 100 clear? Okay, so we will not write it like this though. We will write this as the scientific notation. Understood? Understood or not? Okay, just one step for people who have a little bit of trouble, but mark my words, this is the last time I am going in so much basic detail. Okay, have to. If you want to put the point here, means you have to divide by 100. I hope that makes sense. Okay, if you divide this 4.5 by 100, the point will come here. Okay, so that means 4.5 upon 10 raised to 2. And when there is a power in the denominator and you take it in the numerator, it becomes a negative power. I hope you remember that rule. Okay, so that's how we get 4.5 to 10 raised to minus 2. Yeah, don't worry. We will have so many examples. Okay, right. And I'm also going to give you a lot of homework based on this today. Right. Try this now. Can you convert this to scientific notation? Can you convert this to scientific notation? Fast! Hurry up! Don't take more than 10 seconds. It's that simple. Correct answer is just shift it here. So 2.17 into 10 raised to 1. Is that clear? 2.17 into 10 raised to 1. Clear or not clear? Very good. Okay. One more. Last one for this particular topic. Suppose someone gives you minus 0.000074. Can you convert this to scientific notation? Minus 0.000074. Come on. Fast. Hurry up, people. And don't forget the minus sign at front. I didn't write the step in between. Every time we will not write the simple steps, okay? We will just give the answer directly from here to here. Jump. Now you are grown ups. No more in 8th standard. Alright, so final answer is, have a look. First of all, I should get 7.4 with a minus sign. Alright, negative number remains negative. So minus 7.4. So how many places do I have to shift? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 5 is clear. 5 is clear. So this will be 10 raised to minus 5. Again, I have not written the steps in between. Now I think you will be able to do it without writing steps. Suppose you can't. Don't worry, you write steps. Okay, don't force me to write steps. Alright, you can write the steps. I don't mind. But try to do it without that. Clear? Is scientific notation clear? This is how you write in scientific notation. You might have a little question. What's the use of writing like this? Let me show you what's the use. Do you remember before a while I told you that the range of the nuclear force is something like this. Sir, who's going to write all these zeros? Better write something like this. Did you understand? It's so easy to write something like this. Yes or no? Instead of putting so many zeros, isn't it very easy to write like this? Let me give you another example. Let's go on bigger side. Okay. Do you know that mass of Earth is 6 into 10 raised to 24 kg. This is mass of Earth. When you write it in scientific notation. Mass of Earth. Okay. It's not your mass which is like 60 kg. No, mass of Earth. If you would write it with all the zeros, do you realize it would take so much space? Yes or no? Fine, so that's why scientific notation is so useful. By the time you write 24 zeros, your friends would have completed the problem and moved on to next. Alright, so let's go to the next. The next thing is multiplying or dividing with scientific notation. I will just give you one example. This is very basic stuff. Multiplying or dividing with scientific notation. Only one example. Be careful. Suppose someone says that you have to multiply, let's say 3.7, or rather let's take easy numbers, 3.0 into 10 raised to 5 with 4 into 10 raised to minus 7. Suppose. See, these are two numbers that I have written in scientific notation and I am going to multiply them. Clear? I am going to multiply them. Then it's just the usual way. So how to do it? 3 to 4, 12, like that. 12 is clear, I'm sure. And then 10 raised to 5, 10 raised to minus 7. So it will be 10 raised to 5 minus 7, that is 10 raised to minus 2. Did you understand how we multiply with scientific notation? Very simple, okay? Nothing extraordinary. Very simple. Okay, now I am giving you one question to divide. Let's see whether you can do it. Okay, I am giving you one question to divide with scientific notation. Let's say there is 8.4 into 10 raised to 3 and you are going to divide that with 4 into 10 raised to minus 2. Can you tell me what will be the answer? Can you tell me what will be the answer? Now there is nothing extraordinary. 3 into 4, 12, 10 raised to 5, 10 raised to 7. When you multiply, powers are added. If anyone doesn't know this, here is the formula. This is how you do it. Powers are added when you multiply. What's the answer to this question, everybody? What's the answer to this question? Well, have a look. First of all, 8.4 divided by 4 is 2.1. I hope nobody is using calculator. You are not supposed to use calculator for such simple division. Okay? And those who want to prepare for any kind of entrance exams, like I said, don't touch your calculator for these 2 years. Okay? Into 10 raised to, now for power, 3. When you divide, powers are subtracted. So here is the formula for people who have forgotten it. A raised to x upon a raised to y is equal to a raised to x minus y. So 3 minus minus 2. So that is 3 plus 2. Did you understand? Did you understand? 10 raised to 5. I see some of you have made mistake. Be careful. Be careful, people. Calculation mistake. Some of you did 3 minus 2. No, it's not 3 and 2 only. It is 3 and minus 2. So 3 minus minus 2. I hope that makes sense. Okay, don't make such silly mistakes. Now, that is how you divide, right? Multiplying, dividing is not a big deal really. Like I said, it's just usual. This with this with this. As simple as that. Okay, next, addition, subtraction. Okay, addition or subtraction with scientific notation. This is slightly trickier, but still not tough. Obviously, now you all are in the 11th standard, right? Okay. Now, here we go. Suppose I want to add 4.2 into 10 raised to 3 with 3.5 into 10 raised to 3. See, this is very easy. I am starting with basic. No problem whatsoever. Why? Because 10 raised to 3 is common, isn't it? So take the power common. What's remaining behind? 4.2 plus 3.5. Did you get that? Did you get that? Akshay, I have written the answer on the board here. You can check. Is this clear? What will be the answer? What will be the answer then? Yes, 7.7 into 10 raised to 3. 7.7 into 10 raised to 3. How many of you understood this? How many of you understood this? Right, very good. Okay, Now, what if these powers are different? Let's try something like that. What if these powers are different? So suppose it is, let's say 2.1 into 10 raised to 7 plus 5.2 into 10 raised to 6. Okay, suppose these powers are different. Now, first blunder that I notice often students making is adding this. No, you can't add. You can't add like that. Okay, you have to be careful. The powers are not same. You cannot add directly. Take common. What's common? What's common here and here? Think about it. What's common? Look at power of 10. What's common? Look at power of 10. What's common? Nothing. Hey, yaar. Clearly power of 10 raised to 6 is common, isn't it? Okay. So here 2.1 into 10 raised to 1. Why 1? 6 gone, 1 remaining. Plus 5.2. 6 gone, how much remaining? 0. But do you know what is 10 raised to 0? Everyone? Do you know what is 10 raised to 0? Please, people, give correct answers. My dear friends, 10 raised to 0 is 1. Okay? Please, next time this shouldn't happen. Okay? You cannot afford to make such a mistake. 10 raised to 0 is 1. Nothing else. It's not 0. It's not 10. 10 raised to 0 is 1. So here, when everything is gone, 10 raised to 0 remains means 1 remains. I hope you understood that. This is common. 10 raised to 6 common. Okay. Now we can add, but 10 raised to 1 means 10. So this is 21 plus 5.2 into 10 raised to 6. Did you understand this step? Did you understand this step? Did you understand this step? Okay. Now we can add 21 and 5.2 is 26.2 into 10 raised to 6. Okay, 26.2 into 10 raised to 6. Is this scientific notation? Yes or no? Is this scientific notation? Yes or no? Some of you are saying yes, no. No, not scientific notation. What's the rule? First digit non-zero and point is after the first digit. Is this point after the first digit? Come on, is this point after the first digit? So that's why it is not scientific notation. Let's convert to scientific notation. 2.62 into 10 raised to 7. Did you understand? These are final answer. 2.62 into 10 raised to 7. Okay, this is also correct. See, this is correct, but it is not in scientific notation. Alright, and this is correct and it is in scientific notation. Fine, both are right. It's not like the other answer is wrong, but generally we prefer scientific notation. Got it? Okay, one last question for today about subtraction. Let's see whether you can subtract. Similar rules, nothing new. Similar rules. Okay, so suppose you have 5.5 into 10 raised to 4 minus 3 into 10 raised to 2. Okay, then what is this subtraction? Use the same rules. What's common first of all? What is common? What is common, my friends? 2 is common? 10 raised to 2 is common. Very good. So 5.5 into 10 raised to something, and here 10 raised to 2 is common. What's left over here? 10 raised to 2. I hope that's fine. Okay, now you just subtract this. So you'll get the final answer, added, subtracted in scientific notation. Answers, come on everyone. Answers. And without calculators, make it clear. The more you use calculator, the more trouble you are going to have. Okay, so this becomes 550 because this is 100 minus 3 into 10 raised to 2. So that is 547 into 10 raised to 2. This is not in scientific notation. So final answer is 5.47 into 10 raised to 4. Clear? Okay, so with that, let's end today's class. Alright, make sure you understand these principles. Okay, I'm going to definitely give you homework. You'll get the homework message on your phone. Alright, goodbye everyone.